Good afternoon, everyone out there in social media world. This is Allison Henderson with Moving Image Consulting. I am your body language and presentation expert. And today we are doing part two of a three-part series where we talk about kicking your coaches to the curb. Now, that doesn't mean forever. This simply means kick them to the curb until you become really clear. Last week, we talked about becoming really clear on who you are and how you work. And the exercise was to take all of the programs you've been involved in, all of the online things you've purchased, the other coaches that you've worked with, the masterminds that you've been in, do some reflection and write down what worked for some of those, what didn't work in those programs, and then why. Was it the way it was delivered? Was it you didn't follow through? You were too busy at the time to really put the effort into it. And here's a hint, everybody. Most of us have these programs still in our computers somewhere, or we still have a login code because most of these are like access for life to these videos or to this university where all of this great content from the people that you have paid live. Maybe you need to revisit some of that content. Maybe you need to figure out where you stopped and dropped off and just finish it. That's one of the reasons why we're telling you to kick your coaches to the curb before you engage someone new. You don't want to make the same mistakes you made the time before, right? So whether you're watching this live or whether you are coming into it later after it's been broadcast, I want you to go back to the part one if you missed it, because that is, of course, the foundation for where we are today, which is being specific about what you want to change. When we are looking to hire coaches, whether it's life coaching, whether it's business coaching, whether it's nutrition coaching, whether it's a fitness coach, it doesn't matter what lane they work in. Coaches are only as good as the information that they receive from the person that they're coaching. If you go in saying, "Oh, I don't know, I just want to make more money." Well, how much money are you making now? Where do you want to be? Have some statistics to get that coach going. Know and understand your business, or know and understand your own habits. If you are working with a fitness coach and they're telling you that you need to go into the gym 5 days a week, and you're thinking in your head, there's no way I'm going to go into the gym 5 days a week. I can't fit that into my schedule. You need to know that and be very clear about what you want to change and the time frame that you have to do it in, the parameters around things, particularly because that also helps the coach. The coach doesn't want to take on somebody that's not going to be successful because they can't fulfill the requirements of the coaching package or what the expectation is, everybody. This is something that I see happen way too often, or I hear from others, is that, well, the program ended up just being too overwhelming. It sounded like something I could do, but then I got into it and I just couldn't devote the time or energy to it, or whatever other excuse they wanted to label on it. Well, that was probably because they weren't clear as to how they work and what they could handle, which was the part one, and they very possibly aren't clear on what they wanted to change. So maybe that particular program wasn't the right thing for them. And that's the reason that they dropped off or something. They realized halfway through, well, this isn't going to get me where I want to go. But if you weren't clear ahead of time, you didn't know before you joined the program that it wasn't going to get you where you want to go. It's time to take more ownership on ourselves and more self-reflection. I was talking to a client today who mentioned something about his clients. They don't take enough time to reflect. They just want to bounce off and blame everybody else in the business for its failures rather than looking at themselves and taking responsibility. And that's what I'm asking you to do before you hire a coach. Take the responsibility to know how it is that you work and to be really clear on what you want to change, particularly if you are buying a package in small doses. Many times it feels very cost prohibitive to engage a coach one on one. And if you start with a small 4 or 6 second session package, like many coaches might offer, kind of as a taster, they get to figure out whether they want to work with you just as much as you get to figure out whether you want to continue with them. But if you have that small package, you don't necessarily want to spend the first 3 out of the 4 sessions just figuring out what you want to change. Unless you are absolutely uh, unfocused and really don't know what it is that you want to change, that takes a specific type of coach that can help you figure that out as well. And hopefully the coaches out there would be, well, if you don't know what you want to change, well, then I'm not the coach for you because I don't want to figure that out for you. I just want to help you make the change. So there can be an assessment process, but if that should be upfront, that should be early on with the folks that I work with. If uh, they know what they want to change, in that they know the results, the new results that they want to have, even if that's what it is. You may not know what you need to change in order to get those results, but you need to be really clear on the results that you wish to have at the end of this coaching. So most of the people that come to me for presentation coaching or looking better on video, those sorts of things, which is a lot of my one-on-one, and it's my True to You program. If they come to me and they say, I want to keep my audience engaged longer. Okay, great. I want to be more comfortable and less nervous when I go to give a presentation. Do you see how those are two very different things? And I would coach that in very different ways versus me coming in and saying, "Well, are you nervous?" "Well, yeah, I'm kind of nervous." "Do you feel like you're engaging your audience?" "Well, no, I sort of lose them." Then my attention is split because you're both nervous and this, because you haven't really boiled down into what the real result is that you want or what the real issue is that you need to change. And so that takes self-reflection, and that's your assignment for this week, is to do some self-reflection for whatever it is that you want to change. If it's your dietary habits, what's one of the first things that I think every nutritionist wants us to do is keep a food journal, write down what it is that we're eating. Well, you can already have that started so that you could take a look at it and say, oh, I really need help limiting my carbs, or I'm eating way too much sugar and processed foods. I need help with that. Whatever that is based on the food journal, or you have that to share with the prospective coach, and you can ask them what their recommendation might be or how they would work with you based on this and what your goal is. Then that really helps you figure out whether that coach is the right one for you. It all comes down to you not wasting your money on an investment in a coach that doesn't turn out to be right for you. And so many of us have done it over and over again. And it takes sometimes our third or fourth experience before we finally go, okay, now I know what it is that I want. I know the type of coach that I want to work with. I know what needs to change. I know the outcomes. Sometimes it takes that growth, and it does take kind of going through uh, some other iterations of yourself with coaches. But for right now, really take whatever it is that you want to change and reflect on it. What you're doing now, and journal it, write it down, track yourself. If it's business wise and it's the sales process, when you come out of a potential client meeting or a sales consult, Write down what you thought went really well, where you think you dropped the ball. Uh, think about your sales process, how long it's generally taking, how many meetings is it taking you to close the sale. If you're not getting to close, but you're having 2 or 3 meetings or you're not getting to close, that's one problem. If you don't have enough people coming into your funnel, that's another issue. If your messaging isn't clear, that's a different issue. Do you see? You need to really self-reflect on what it is that is the issue that you're going to be bringing to this coach. That's going to help you figure out which coach is best for you. It's going to help the coaches that you interview decide whether they are a fit for you as well. Okay, there you go, everybody. I know this makes sense. I know this is like no duh, but are you doing it? Did you do it before you took a webinar and went, "Oh yes, that's a thing for me." Got halfway through the program and realized, ugh, I should have done some more research into that. I am way guilty of that. Some of us like to leap in very quickly before we've done any of the self reflection. So you need to do the self reflection, track what it is that you are doing now, what you want to change, and the outcomes that you want to uh, to receive from working with this coach. Okay, that's part one and part two. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.